Rand Paul and other senators pitched Elon Musk on the idea of essentially codifying many of DOGE's cuts, and Elon Musk was reportedly elated by the concept. Now, this isn't anything new. This has been tried before. It's been tried during the last Trump administration. They tried to get what's called a rescission package, which is to basically take money that's already been set aside by Congress, it's already been approved legislatively to be spent on this or that or whatever, and claw it back, rescind the spending. Now the key, I'll get to the key here in a second, but it didn't work during the last Trump administration. They had a couple of senators who were objecting, and we didn't have the ability to withstand a couple of senators objecting. Now I would imagine there will be more senators objecting this time, because last time they were just trying to rescind $15 billion. This time they're talking about rescinding up to $500 billion. But we'll see. We will see. Get your prayers ready and get your phones ready, because we might have to be praying for discernment in Washington, D.C., honesty, maybe a little bit of humility, but we will also need to hop on the phones, call the various senators who might attempt to derail this idea. But the story itself comes from Steph W. Kite over at Axios.com. Left-leaning Axios, I get it, but this is a good report of the news itself. It says Rand Paul pitches Elon Musk on plan to slash spending, a legislative plan. Now, of course, this comes on a day, let me preface this a bit. This comes on a day where we did get some bad DOGE news. Okay, the Supreme Court, which I think a lot of us, I know I did, expected them to side with, the Constitution and the American people. I know, crazy to think that Amy Coney Barrett would be a traitor to the taxpayers of the United States of America. But it is what it is, and that really sent shockwaves. Not just because she forced the government to pay USAID foreign aid funding of around $2 billion, but also because this bodes ill for future similar lawsuits, similar judgments that we're expecting to come from the Supreme Court in the future as it pertains to DOGE. Well, if we can get a legislative solution, that is more powerful. See, I don't know if, I'm sure most of you realize it, but perhaps some other people don't realize that when it comes to, we have 3 co-equal branches of government, but when it comes to the power of their decisions, the Supreme Court's power is the highest. The Supreme Court, their rulings, generally speaking, have more clout than anything else. This is why, for example, Roe v. Wade was a plague on American society for 5 decades. Okay? Well, second would be codifying it, turning it into law, legislation, the legislative branch, Congress, Senate, Capitol Hill. That's where when you can write laws and get them passed and get them signed, when you can codify a particular intention, we'll say, then that is very powerful as well. It's still subject to lawsuits. It's still subject to certain potential roadblocks, but nothing compared to the weakest form of government engagement, which is the executive order from the executive branch. The president sounds great because he's the most powerful man in the world, right? So if the president says it, that should have weight, except it really doesn't. It's temporary, generally speaking. Executive orders last as long as that president. And if the opposition party takes over the White House, they generally just write a bunch of executive orders that get rid of the previous executive orders. We see it every 4 to 8 years, generally speaking. So occasionally every 12 years. But whatever. Point is that executive orders are weak. Plus, as we're learning right now in real time, they're also very vulnerable to the judiciary. Even a low-level federal judge in Connecticut can upend the President of the United States' orders. That's ludicrous on every possible level, but it's what we've got. So this is why Elon Musk is so happy by the idea of let's get back to doging, but we'll doge through the Senate. Awesome. Elon Musk and Republican senators are eyeing a package to claw back tens or even hundreds of billions of dollars in federal spending after meeting in a closed-door lunch on Wednesday. Musk has been leading the charge on spending cuts from the White House. Some lawmakers want to make his actions more permanent by making them law, by codifying them. No decisions have been made, but there was some early general support for the idea being pushed by Senator Rand Paul after the lunch. An infamous deficit hawk, Paul pitched Elon Musk on a massive rescission package. Remember those words? A massive rescission package during a lunch on Wednesday, he told reporters. Such a package would undo federal funding already approved by Congress. And that there is the biggest challenge. That's where a lot of the lawfare that's being waged against DOGE and against the Trump administration is being done because, hey, funds have already been set aside by Congress. They're the ones that get to pick how much money is spent and where it's spent, not the president. Well, then let's get Congress to rescind the spending. Problem solved. And this is the key. This is the key, the most important part. The bill would also only require 51 votes to pass the Senate. No Democrats would be required. We would have room to lose 2 senators. 2 Republican senators could vote against it. And it could still pass. That's awesome. But that means that we still have to pray. We still have to fight the rhinos. We have to fight rhinos like, Mitch McConnell. Still, I know that you don't see or hear him much unless he's being wheeled around to make a vote. But he does still exist in our U.S. Senate, as does Lisa Murkowski, as does Susan Collins, as does Lindsey Graham. Oh, wait. Lindsey Graham exists, but maybe, just maybe. Let's see what they say about Lindsey Graham. But first, let's get to ones that will vote for it. Musk was elated at the idea. Senator Josh Hawley told reporters, I think he didn't realize it could be done at 51 senators only. I do think there is a genuine appetite to continue this work within the legislative branch, according to Senator Eric Schmidt, another good guy. And then here he is, Senator Lindsey Graham, Lindsey Rhino Graham, neocon Rhino Lindsey, the I'm not going to say it. Lindsey Graham said he backed Paul's plan. Lindsey Graham said he backed it. Awesome. So that's 1 rhino down, about 4 or 5 or 7 or 10 more to go. President Trump has looked at ways to get around the 1974 Impoundment Control Act, which limits the president's power to withhold funds without already appropriated by Congress. The U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday ruled against Trump, requiring roughly $1.9 billion in foreign aid via USAID still to be dispersed. This court does not look like it's warming toward the impoundment theory, according to Hawley. It's not a good sign for other actions DOGE might want to take to cut spending without Congress. All right, fine. Then let's cut it through Congress. Let's make it permanent. Let's make it to where, the money hasn't been spent, and the money isn't going to be spent even after President Trump leaves office. If, God forbid, a Democrat were to be the next president, or even the president after that, or after that, or after that. Republicans attempted to roll back $15 billion in government spending with a rescission package during the first Trump administration, but it failed due to no votes from Senator Susan Collins, the ultimate rhino from Maine, and Senator Richard Burr, who, thank God, is gone. He was replaced by Ted Budd. So there were already 2 votes against rescinding $15 billion. Now we're talking about $500 billion. I would imagine that Susan Collins is still going to be a no. And we're also going to have to look at the aforementioned Lisa Murkowski, Mitch McConnell, the uniparty swampsters who don't want to see President Trump succeed, who don't want to see Elon Musk succeed, and most importantly, who do not want to see the United States of America succeed. It's part of their uniparty swamp creed. It's like, thou shalt not do anything that can help Americans. I'm not a fan of Susan Collins, if you couldn't tell. Unfortunately, she is the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, which will play a key role in the rescission process. Thank you very much, John Thune, for making a horrible, 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 horrible choice there, rewarding Susan Collins. Give me a break. But hey, let's focus on the positives here. The positives are Rand Paul is going to lead the charge, as he almost always does when it comes to cutting and slashing and burning budgets. Okay? It's great. He will be supported by a majority of Republicans, but we need almost all of them. We need 51 out of 53, because I guarantee you, no Democrat, not even John Fetterman, is going to vote to rescind $500 billion. It's maybe have to be done piecemeal. In other words, they may have to sneak it in. Might have to pick out some of the worst offenders and then divvy it up between 3 or 4 different rescinding packages, because use the most egregious spending, the ones that are easiest to pitch to people, put a little bit of that, sprinkle those in with multiple packages. I don't know what the best way to do it. President Trump, I can assure you, and Rand Paul for that matter, and Elon Musk for that matter, would much rather see just one big, beautiful bill that rescinds $500 billion in one fell swoop. Done. That's what they want. And that's what I would want if I thought that were possible. And it may be. We'll see. This is where, if Rand Paul or Ron Johnson or Ted Cruz or Mike Lee or Josh Hawley or Eric Schmidt or any of those guys, if they have any favors they can call in with Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, and let's just assume that Mitch McConnell's a lost cause. So we got to get Collins and Murkowski and maybe a few other naysayers on board. It's time to call in some favors, maybe do some negotiating up front, because we need this. This is bigger, potentially, and more impactful for sure than anything DOGE could do through executive orders. If we can just undo the spending that Congress has already committed us to, if we could undo a good chunk of that, and $500 billion, that's a good chunk. It's not as I would love for it to be more. Hey, don't forget, cut 95% of the U.S. government, and that will be a start for me. But hey, I realize that's a pipe dream, but this is not. This is real. This is potential. We could actually see this happen. And like I was telling you, I had my interview earlier with my good friend Alex Newman. We were talking about crazy things happening. I don't discount anything anymore. Things that I would have thought were absolutely impossible are already happening, like 6 weeks into the Trump administration. So why should we fear anything? I hope you don't take that as some biblical reference to fear nothing because of Trump. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is that we seem to have certain degrees of momentum, certain degrees of righteous passion on our side right now. Let's take advantage of it. Let's shoot for the moon on a bunch of stuff. This is it. This is the big one. This could actually single-handedly, in one fell swoop, this could be a major step towards saving our country from the eventual collapse that we're going to be facing here very, very soon. It's not like, oh my God, people, I hate it when people say, we've got to do it to save our grandchildren. No, our grandchildren are never going to see anything that we do, because we're not going to continue to be a nation for more than 4 or 5 more years if we don't fix this now. Stop talking about grandchildren. Talk about today, right now. This is where the problem is. It's not about, we're hurting future generations. Yeah, that's true, but that's like, when I hear people say that, it's sort of like saying, you're in the middle of the house and the house is burning down and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to cause my grandchildren to have to paint over this. It's like, no, that might be true, but the more pressing need is that you have to stop the fire or you'll die. And don't worry about the paint job. I'm not saying don't worry about our children or grandchildren. I'm saying that let's stop treating this as if it's something where the real problem is going to start with our children or grandchildren. The real problem is now. It's right staring us in the face. $36 trillion in debt, more being paid in interest than on the military. Let's get this done. Rescission package, $500 billion? Sounds like a good start to me. Thank you for watching that clip. I hope you loved it. 2 things now that you're done watching the clip. Number 1, find all my stuff and be sure to follow me on Rumble, YouTube, whatever, X, Getter, Brighteon, BitChute, those places. Go to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. Number 2, please help support our newest sponsor. You can go to jdrucker.com/infowars, jdrucker.com/infowars, and shop the Alex Jones store. Help to keep an important piece of the media, alive and well. JDRucker.com/Infowars.